The door slid open without making any sound. Observer Kethril paused for a moment before stepping inside. His 4 eyes adjusted to the low light of the room. The air was warm and heavy with oxygen, thicker than what his species preferred. The soft hum of the ship's systems mixed with a slow, steady sound. Breathing. On the narrow sleeping platform lay the human. He was asleep, completely unaware. Kethril felt a strange tension move through his body. Across the known galaxy, sleep was a vulnerable act. Most intelligent species avoided it, unless protected by guards, shields, or locked chambers. Some species slept in short cycles, never fully unconscious. Others entered shared dream states, so that at least one mind was always alert. The human did none of this. No visible weapon rested near him. No personal shield shimmered around his body. No guard waited outside the door. Just thin fabric covering fragile flesh. Kethril did not understand how this species had survived long enough to reach the stars. The human was Captain Elias Ward, Earth's assigned representative aboard the Coalition science vessel, Silent Meridian. Official records labeled him as cooperative, adaptable, and low risk. Unofficial records were far more disturbing. Pirate vessels that changed course after detecting human ships. Veteran warriors from ancient empires refusing missions if humans were involved. Entire battle simulations rewritten after analysts concluded that humans behaved illogically under pressure. Kethril had been sent to learn the truth. The High Conclave demanded facts, not stories. Fear without proof was weakness. If humans were dangerous, the Conclave needed to know why. If they were not, then the galaxy needed to stop treating them like walking disasters. Kethril moved closer to the sleeping platform, careful to place each step silently. His kind had evolved as observers long before becoming explorers. Silence was natural to him. The human did not stir. Up close, the human looked even less impressive. His skin showed signs of aging and exposure. His hands were rough, fingers scarred and uneven. Small lines marked his face, evidence of repeated emotional expression. His body showed signs of old injuries that had healed incorrectly. Weakness, by galactic standards. Kethril activated his handheld scanner. A faint hum filled the air as invisible waves passed over the human's body. The device displayed data across Kethril's visor. Heart rate steady, breathing regular, muscle tension minimal, neural activity deep in rest cycle. The human was truly asleep. Kethril felt a slight release of tension. Perhaps the rumors were exaggerated after all. Perhaps humans were simply lucky survivors who benefited from timing and diplomacy rather than strength. Then the scanner highlighted the scars. Kethril adjusted the scan, focusing on the human's exposed arms. Thin white lines crossed the skin, some clean, some uneven. There were burn marks, blade scars, and damage consistent with high-velocity impacts. This human had been injured many times, yet here he was, alive. Kethril leaned closer, curiosity overriding protocol. He extended one long finger, stopping just short of touching the human's arm. The scars told a story of survival, pain, and refusal to stop moving forward. The scanner suddenly chimed. Kethril stiffened. The human's neural activity spiked sharply, climbing from deep rest into full awareness in less than a second. Kethril's threat indicators flashed warnings across his visor. Too fast. No species transitioned like that without mechanical assistance. The human's breathing changed slightly. One eye opened. It focused directly on Kethril. Kethril froze, his muscles locking in shock. The human did not shout. He did not reach for a weapon. He simply looked at Kethril with calm, focused awareness. "Can I help you?" the human asked quietly. His voice was steady. No fear. No confusion. Kethril's secondary heart fluttered in panic. His mind raced through emergency responses. But none fit the situation. The human had woken faster than trained sentries, faster than predator species evolved for ambush. I believed you were unconscious," Kethril managed to say. The human sat up slowly, moving with deliberate care. He kept his hands visible, palms open, but his posture changed. His body aligned itself naturally, balanced and ready, alert. "Yeah," the human said. "That happens when people sleep." Kethril took a step backward without meaning to. The human glanced at the scanner in Kethril's grasp. "Let me guess," he said calmly. "Evaluation." Kethril hesitated, then nodded. The human sighed softly and rubbed his face. "You guys really need to stop sneaking into bedrooms." There was no anger in his voice, no accusation, just mild annoyance. Kethril struggled to understand the situation. By all logic, the human should have reacted with fear or aggression. An unknown alien had entered his room while he slept. Any rational species would feel threatened, yet the human remained calm. "Why are you not afraid?" Kethril asked before he could stop himself. The human looked at him for a long moment. His eyes were sharp, studying Kethril in return. "Because you're standing there talking," Ward said. "If you wanted to hurt me, you already would have tried." Kethril felt a chill run through his body. "You are unarmed," Kethril said. Ward smiled slightly. "Depends how you define armed." That answer made no sense, and that frightened Kethril more than any weapon. Ward swung his legs over the side of the platform and stood. He was not tall compared to many species, but there was a weight to his presence. A confidence that did not come from size or strength. "You came here to see if humans are dangerous," Ward said. "Yes," Kethril admitted. Ward nodded. "Fair." He walked toward a small dispenser on the wall and poured himself a drink. He did not turn his back on Kethril fully, angling his body just enough to keep him in sight. "I'm not dangerous right now," Ward continued. "I'm tired, and I've got paperwork in the morning." Kethril's sensors told a different story. The human's muscles were relaxed, but ready. His heart rate was calm, yet responsive. His eyes tracked every movement Kethril made. Predator calm. "Then why does the galaxy fear your species?" Kethril asked. Ward took a sip of his drink. "Because we don't act the way you expect." "Tuan Sen." "That is not an answer," Kethril said. Ward shrugged. "It's the only honest one." He set the cup down and looked directly at Kethril. "You know why I was asleep with no guards?" Kethril did not respond. "Because this ship is safer than most places I've been," Ward said. "And because if something goes wrong, I'll deal with it." "With what?" Kethril asked. Ward tapped his temple lightly. "Experience." Silence filled the room. Kethril realized then that humans did not rely on constant protection because they relied on adaptation. They trusted their ability to react, to endure, to learn from pain. They slept not because they were careless, but because they believed they would wake up in time, and they were usually right. "You may finish your evaluation," Ward said calmly. "Just do it from the doorway next time." Kethril bowed his head slightly in acknowledgement and backed toward the door. As it slid shut behind him, Kethril felt something unfamiliar settle in his mind. Understanding. Humans were not terrifying because they were always violent. They were terrifying because even at their most vulnerable, they were ready. And Kethril knew, with absolute certainty, that this evaluation was only the beginning. Kethril did not sleep after leaving the humans' quarters. He returned to his observation chamber, sealed the door, and sat motionless for a long time. His people processed fear through logic. Yet logic failed to calm him. The human's behavior kept replaying in his mind. The calm voice, the steady eyes, the way he had accepted danger as a normal part of existence. Kethril began writing his report but stopped after the first sentence. "Human subject demonstrates abnormal threat response." That line felt incomplete. Across the ship, Captain Elias Ward also did not return to sleep. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at nothing, listening to the low hum of the silent meridian. He had recognized the visitor immediately. Evaluator class, high conclave. That meant the galaxy was nervous again. Humans only got evaluated when someone powerful started worrying. Ward stood, dressed, and clipped his communicator to his wrist. He had learned long ago that when people studied humans too closely, something usually followed. Curiosity led to testing. Testing led to mistakes. Mistakes led to humans fixing problems nobody else could. The next cycle, The Silent Meridian received a priority alert. An uncharted object had exited slipspace near the ship. The bridge filled with quiet tension as officers studied the incoming data. The object was massive, asymmetrical, and unlike any known coalition design. Its energy output was erratic, unstable, and dangerous. "Identification?" asked the ship's commander. "None," replied the sensor officer. "It is broadcasting on no known frequency." Kethril felt a sharp spike of unease. Unknown ships were rare. Unidentified ships were worse. The commander turned to Ward. "Captain, your thoughts?" Ward studied the display carefully. He noticed the irregular power fluctuations, the way the object's mass shifted slightly over time. "It's damaged," Ward said. "Or barely holding together." "How can you tell?" the commander asked. Ward pointed at the readings. "That much power instability means either bad design or something went wrong. If it was hostile and fully operational, it would have announced itself by now." Kethril watched silently. The human was not guessing. He was reading the situation like a pattern he had seen before. Before any further discussion, the ship shook violently. Alarms sounded. "Incoming energy surge!" someone shouted. The unknown object released a wave of raw energy. It was not a weapon, but it slammed into the Silent Meridian like a storm. Systems flickered. Gravity fluctuated. Several crew members were thrown to the floor. Emergency lights activated. "Damage report," the commander ordered. "Shields holding but stressed," came the reply. Navigation disrupted. Communications partially down. Ward grabbed a nearby console and steadied himself. His eyes never left the display. "That wasn't an attack," he said. Kethril stared at him. "We are under assault." "No," Ward replied. "We're in the way." Another surge rippled through space. The unknown object began to fracture, pieces breaking away and dissolving into energy. "It's collapsing," Ward said. "Whatever that thing is, it's dying." "Then we must retreat," the commander said. "If it explodes." "It won't explode like a bomb," Ward interrupted. "It'll tear space apart for a few seconds. If we run, we get caught in the turbulence." Silence followed. Kethril's mind raced. The human was contradicting standard coalition protocol. Retreat was always the first response to unknown threats. "What do you suggest?" the commander asked. Ward took a breath. "We stabilize it." Several officers turned to him in disbelief. "That object is not a machine," Ward continued. "It's a structure built around an energy core. It's failing because the core is overheating." "How could you know that?" Kethril asked. Ward looked at him. "Because humans have made mistakes like that before." The commander hesitated. "And if you're wrong?" Ward met his gaze. "Then we all learn something very quickly." Kethril felt a strange realization form. Humans did not avoid danger because they trusted their ability to solve problems while inside it. "Captain," the commander said slowly. "What do you need?" Ward's mouth twitched slightly. "Access, power, and permission to ignore the manual." "Granted." Ward moved fast. He coordinated engineers, rerouted power flows, and adjusted shield frequencies in ways that made Kethril deeply uncomfortable. Every action broke at least one coalition safety rule. Yet the ship held. The unknown object continued to destabilize, but the energy surges weakened. The Silent Meridian moved closer, riding the edge of disaster with careful precision. Inside the engineering bay, Ward worked alongside species twice his size and twice his strength. He did not dominate through authority. He explained, adapted, and listened. When a system failed, he did not panic. He adjusted. Kethril observed everything, recording data with shaking focus. The human's brain activity during the crisis was unlike anything he had seen. Stress did not reduce his efficiency. It sharpened it. The core of the unknown object finally stabilized enough for scanning. The results stunned the crew. "It's a habitat," someone whispered. "Or what's left of one." Life signs flickered faintly inside. "Survivors." Ward exhaled slowly. That's why it didn't attack. It was screaming. A rescue operation followed. Dangerous, chaotic, against every rule. Humans thrived in that space. Ward personally led the first boarding team. He entered the failing structure with calm determination. moving through twisted corridors filled with unstable energy. He helped carry injured survivors, adjusted systems on the fly, and made decisions in seconds that would take coalition committees hours. Kethriel watched from the control room, unable to look away. When Ward returned, exhausted and burned but alive, the rescued beings were already receiving care. The silent Meridian had saved hundreds. Later, in the quiet aftermath, Kethriel approached Ward in the observation deck. "You endangered yourself," Kethriel said. Ward leaned against the viewport, watching stars drift past. "Yeah. Number. You violated multiple protocols." "Also yeah. Why?" Kethriel asked. Ward was silent for a moment. "Because they needed help. And because we could." "And for?" That answer echoed through Kethriel's mind. The High Conclave wanted to know if humans were dangerous. Kethriel now understood the deeper truth. Humans were not dangerous because they sought conflict. They were dangerous because when faced with chaos, fear, or the unknown, they stepped forward instead of back. They broke rules to save lives. They adapted faster than systems could fail. They turned disasters into challenges. And they did all of this while still finding time to sleep peacefully when they could. As Kethriel finalized his report, his conclusion was clear. Humanity was not a threat to the galaxy. Humanity was a solution the galaxy did not yet understand, and that realization unsettled him more than fear ever had. The report Kethriel sent to the High Conclave did not bring comfort. It brought alarm. Within 2 cycles, the Silent Meridian received a new transmission. This one did not come from a research council or diplomatic office. It came directly from the Conclave's strategic authority. The message was short, formal, and heavy with implication. Human presence requires further verification under stress conditions. Kethriel read the words several times. His outer calm hid a deep unease. Stress conditions were never accidental. They were created. Across the ship, Captain Elias Ward was already aware something was wrong. Humans had learned to recognize patterns long before reaching the stars. Extra patrols, restricted system access, quiet conversations that stopped when he entered a room. Evaluation had moved to escalation. Ward stood in the training bay, watching crew members run emergency drills. He noticed how often their eyes flicked toward him, as if his presence alone offered reassurance. That bothered him more than fear would have. He did not want to be a symbol. He wanted to be a warning. The stress test arrived without ceremony. The Silent Meridian was ordered to pass through the Virex Drift, a region of unstable space abandoned centuries ago due to unpredictable gravitational storms. Coalition doctrine labeled it non-navigable. Ships that entered rarely returned intact. The Conclave wanted to see how humans reacted when survival odds dropped below acceptable margins. Kethriel confronted Ward in the corridor outside the bridge. "This route is unnecessary," Kethriel said. "There are safer paths." Ward nodded. "I know. You suspect intent?" Ward stopped walking and turned to face him. "I'm certain of it." Kethriel's voice lowered. "If this is a test, lives are at risk." Ward met his gaze. "That's how they always test us." The commander received the final order shortly after. Course locked. No deviation allowed. The ship entered the Virex Drift. Space twisted. Stars stretched into long, uneven lines. Gravity surged and weakened without rhythm. The hull groaned under forces no material was meant to endure. Systems flickered as reality itself seemed unsure how it should behave. Crew members struggled to remain upright. Consoles sparked. Navigation readouts contradicted each other. Fear spread quickly. Ward stood at the center of the chaos. One hand braced against a console, the other adjusting settings manually. "Stabilize internal gravity first," he ordered. "People matter more than instruments." Kethriel watched in disbelief. Coalition protocol demanded system preservation above all else. Ward inverted the priority without hesitation. The ship lurched violently. A gravity wave slammed into the hull, stronger than any before. Structural warnings screamed. Several compartments depressurized before emergency seals activated. "We're losing control," the helmsman said. "The drift is pulling us off course." Ward studied the readings, jaw tight. "It's not random," he said. "It's patterned. Impossible." someone replied. Nothing is, Ward said, not even chaos. He began issuing commands that made no sense to Kethril. Power rerouted from weapons to sensors. Shields shifted frequency in irregular cycles. Engines fired in short, uneven bursts instead of sustained thrust. To Kethril, it looked like madness. To the drift, it looked like adaptation. The ship stopped fighting the instability and started moving with it. The shaking lessened. The alarm softened. Crew members stared in stunned silence as the silent meridian slipped through the worst of the turbulence. Kethril felt something click into place. Humans did not overpower danger. They listened to it, learned its rhythm, moved inside it. But the conclave was not finished. A new threat emerged within the drift. Long-range sensors detected movement, not debris, not natural phenomena. Ships, ancient and massive, hidden within the warped space, awakened by the silent meridian's passage. Automated defense platforms left behind by a forgotten empire. They did not question. They fired. Energy lanced through distorted space, striking the ship's shields with terrifying force. One blast punched through an outer layer, venting an entire section into the void. Casualty reports flooded in. Kethril's calm shattered. These defenses were never documented. Ward's face hardened. Of course they weren't. Weapons officers prepared to return fire. Ward raised a hand. No. They're attacking us, the commander protested. They're reacting, Ward said. Same as we are. Another blast struck, closer to the core. Captain, the commander said urgently. Ward's voice remained steady. If we fight, we lose. Those platforms were built to survive wars longer than our history. Then what do humans do? Kethril asked. Ward looked at him. We talk to machines. Before anyone could object, Ward ordered a risky maneuver. The ship cut engines completely and drifted, shields lowered just enough to signal vulnerability without surrender. It was a dangerous gamble. The platforms paused. Sensors struggled to interpret the change. Ancient logic systems searched for patterns they understood. Ward transmitted a simple signal, not a code. Not a threat, a pattern, mathematical, repeating, imperfect, a sign of intelligence. Minutes passed like hours, then the firing stopped. The platforms reoriented, weapons powering down slowly. Kethril felt his limbs weaken with relief. Ward exhaled and finally allowed himself to sit. They were guarding something, he said quietly. Sensors confirmed it. At the center of the drift lay a sealed structure, older than any known civilization. A vault. A failsafe. Inside it, a controlled singularity stabilized by technology beyond current understanding, a disaster prevented long ago. If disturbed improperly, it would have destroyed half the sector. The silent meridian had drifted too close. The conclave's test had nearly triggered a catastrophe. Kethril understood then how close the galaxy had come to ruin, not because of human action, but because of careless judgment from those who believed control meant safety. The ship exited the Virex drift battered but intact. Casualties were treated. Damage was extensive but survivable, and the data gathered was undeniable. Humans did not panic under impossible pressure. They did not cling to rules when rules failed. They did not seek dominance. They sought understanding. In the aftermath, Kethril sent a second, private message to the High Conclave. He did not soften his words. You tested humans by pushing them toward destruction. They responded by preventing it. If you continue, you will not prove their danger. You will provoke it. Ward stood alone in the observation deck later, watching calm space return to normal shapes. Kethril joined him quietly. They will not stop, Kethril said. Fear does not surrender easily. Ward nodded. I know. What will humanity do? Ward's reflection stared back at him from the viewport. Tired, scarred, steady. We'll keep fixing things, he said. Until they realize we're not the problem. And if they never do? Ward was silent for a long moment. Then, he said softly, we'll protect ourselves the same way we protect everyone else. Kethril felt a chill, not because of threat, but because he understood what the galaxy was asking of a species that had learned to survive anything, and how long that patience could last. The silent meridian did not return to normal operations. It returned to scrutiny. When the ship exited the Virex drift, repair crews worked without rest. Hull plates were replaced. Systems were recalibrated. Injured crew members recovered slowly. Yet the heaviest weight was not physical damage. It was attention. The High Conclave was watching. Every data stream from the mission was copied. Every decision Captain Elias Ward had made was dissected by distant minds that had never felt space twist or heard metal scream. To them, it was an experiment. To those on board, it had been survival. Kethril stood before the main display in his observation chamber, reviewing conclave responses. The language was cautious, cold, and layered with concern. Human adaptability exceeds projected thresholds. Risk classification pending. Containment strategies under review. Containment. The word made Kethril's limbs tense. One did not contain storms. One learned to live with them, or was destroyed. Ward received the summons alone. A secure chamber was prepared. No guards. No restraints. Just a projection of the High Conclave's representatives, vast shapes of light and shadow, ancient minds speaking with practiced unity. Ward stood calmly, hands behind his back. You were subjected to controlled stress, the conclave began. You exceeded expectations. Ward nodded. We survived. You altered outcomes beyond acceptable variance. We prevented loss of life, Ward replied. A pause followed. Your species demonstrates dangerous independence, the conclave said. You ignore established hierarchy. Ward looked directly at the projection. We respect results more than rank. That answer rippled uneasily through the chamber. You are aware, the conclave continued, that many civilizations collapsed due to such thinking. Ward's voice remained steady. And many survived because of it. Silence stretched. Kethril listened from a restricted channel, his heart's pounding. This was the moment tests became decisions. You are dangerous, the conclave said at last. Ward did not deny it. So is fire. So is gravity. So is curiosity. The projection brightened slightly. Fire is controlled. Gravity is predictable. You are neither. Ward allowed himself a small, tired smile. That's why you keep calling us. The conclave shifted focus. You have prevented multiple disasters not of your making, it said. You adapt faster than our projections allow. This creates instability. Stability, Ward replied, is not the same as safety. A long pause followed. Then the conclave asked the question Kethril feared most. What will humanity do if the galaxy decides you are a threat? Ward did not answer immediately. When he did, his words were simple. We'll do what we always do, he said. Protect our people. Help where we can. And stop anyone who tries to burn everything down out of fear. The conclave considered this. And if that includes us? Ward's eyes hardened, just slightly. Then we'll be very disappointed. The transmission ended. No verdict was given. No punishment declared. But silence, this time, was heavier than accusation. Days passed. The Silent Meridian was ordered to hold position near a neutral star system. Other ships arrived. Observers. Diplomats. Strategists. All wanted to see the humans up close. They watched how humans worked, how they joked even when tired, how they argued openly, then solved problems together, how they rested when they could and moved fast when they had to. They noticed something else too. Humans did not seek control. They offered cooperation. When a nearby relay station malfunctioned, humans helped fix it. When a trade vessel suffered engine failure, humans assisted without asking permission. When two species argued over blame, humans mediated, not with authority, but with understanding. Slowly, fear met contradiction. Kethril compiled his final report. It was not technical. It was honest. Humans are not predictable. They are not safe in the way locked doors are safe. They are safe in the way a skilled hand on the controls is safe during a storm. They do not remove danger. They navigate it. The conclave requested one last demonstration, a final choice. A dormant weapon platform was discovered near a populated system. Ancient, autonomous, failing. If it activated, millions would die. Coalition doctrine demanded quarantine and evacuation. That would take months. The platform would activate in days. The conclave asked one question: can humanity intervene? Ward read the briefing in silence. This is not a test, Kethril said quietly. This is real. Ward nodded. It always is. The silent Meridian approached the platform alone. As they drew closer, the scale of it became clear. A relic of a forgotten war. Still armed. Still lethal. Its systems were breaking down, misinterpreting harmless signals as threats. Any wrong move, the commander said, and it fires. Ward studied the data. Then we don't make wrong moves. The plan was risky. Humans would board the platform, interface directly with alien systems older than their species, and shut it down from the inside. No simulations, no guarantees, just skill, patience, and trust. Kethril watched from the bridge as Ward led the team. Human engineers, medics, and specialists moved with calm focus. They spoke clearly. They adapted when systems resisted. They made mistakes and corrected them quickly. Inside the platform, ancient logic fought them. Security systems activated. Corridors shifted. Energy surged unpredictably. The humans did not retreat. They learned. They spoke to the machine, not as an enemy, but as a system doing its best with broken rules. They found its core directive: protect at all costs. Ward adjusted it. Protect life. The platform powered down. Weapons went silent. The system was saved. Across the sector, alarms ceased. Evacuation stopped. Lives continued. The conclave watched everything. They saw humans sweat, bleed, argue, laugh, and succeed. They saw fear, but also resolve. They saw a species that did not claim perfection, only responsibility. The verdict came quietly. Humanity is recognized as a stabilizing force, not allies, not rulers, something new. When Ward returned to his quarters, exhaustion finally claimed him. He sat on the edge of his bed and laughed softly to himself. Kethril stood at the doorway. "You're cleared," Kethril said. "Officially." Ward looked up. "Unofficially?" Kethril hesitated. "They are still afraid." Ward nodded. "That's fair. You know," Kethril said, "you sleep as if the universe is not trying to kill you." Ward lay back and closed his eyes. "It usually is. Then why sleep at all?" Ward smiled, already drifting. "Because tomorrow always needs us awake." Kethril watched the human rest, truly rest. In a ship full of beings who now understood something important. Humans did not survive because they were strongest. They survived because they faced the dark, fixed what they could, and then allowed themselves to sleep, confident they would wake up, and ready, always ready when the galaxy knocked again.